my model is the next kind of more general physics. And it does explain why C is a constant and, why particles act like probability distributions. It explains those, and they're both logical explanations. And you can see how both things work and the realms in which they work. So it's just physics will do that. Now, maybe it'll one day expand past the point of virtual reality. Maybe that's only one more step, on a path of seeing a bigger understanding of things. That's how it works. Now, if it is, I can't conceive of it. I don't know how it could be expanded any further, but then materialists didn't know how their material reality could be explained any further either. So it doesn't mean that there isn't, that the process can't keep going, but it isn't something that has an infinite number of layers. You do get eventually to a point that is the answer. And at this point, I'd say that the virtual reality concept is the answer, but maybe not. Who knows? See, science has to keep an open mind. You can't be closed-minded about things, but the virtual reality viewpoint explains all the things that the materialist viewpoint can explain, plus it explains the things that the materialist viewpoint can't explain. So that just makes it a more general physics. It doesn't mean that the old physics doesn't apply. So you say, well, if you let go of materialism, where are the photons? Where are the electrons? Where all the stuff will all have to disappear? No, all of that's just being calculated. It's the results that are being calculated. The things themselves are just how we model it from a materialist viewpoint. And you should notice that throughout physics, the models keep changing. They keep growing and expanding and changing. The models don't stay the same. Just like the electron is a chunk of mass with a charge. That's no longer the model of an electron in physics. Used to be, but not anymore. We don't see it that way anymore. So the models keep changing as we get more understanding. And as these models change, they can only be explained with virtual reality. As the models get more and more general, it just leads you to the next step, which is a virtual reality. It's a probability-based reality, not a grounds-up simulation, but a top-down probability and statistics model based on the probability distributions that can be generated by the rule set. A lot of physicists have come to that conclusion, and like Bohm and Einstein and Bohr and Planck and Heisenberg, you name off kind of the creme de la creme of physicists over the last 100 years or 200 years. And many of those, if not most of them, have come to the conclusion that consciousness, quote, somehow, end quote, is at the core of all of this. But they had no idea how that could be. But their science tells them that consciousness is a key player in this physics. But they don't understand how that works, how you could apply it. How could it be a thing? What are the equations for consciousness? You see, they don't have them. You can't describe consciousness from a material basis. It's not a material thing. So that's why it's hard. That's why you have the hard problem. The hard problem is hard because it doesn't have an answer. The brain does not make consciousness. And that's a really hard problem because it doesn't work that way. So yes, that's the idea, is that people have had now for 100 years the knowing that consciousness is at the root. But they did not have the concept of virtual reality in only the last probably 40 years, 30 years has virtual reality been a concept that people could wrap their minds around, could actually see the potential. Now, when we see virtual realities that are very realistic, we can experience them that are very realistic. It's not so hard to imagine that you could be living in one as an avatar. Whereas 50 years ago, that was a crazy idea, completely insane. Today, with the computing we have, it's not insane, isn't it? It's a little far out on the edge, sure, but it's not insane. We could see that. Yeah, that's a possibility. So anyway, science is getting closer and closer to the point where they can see virtual reality as the correct answer. And as they get there, then physics will be more general, and they'll understand a lot of things that they don't understand now. So physics isn't going away. Don't worry, you know, your current will still flow in that wire just like it always did.
Yeah.
But whether that effect of the current flowing in the wire is calculated or whether it's generated out of physicality, you see, that's the difference. The current's still going to flow in that wire for that avatar, you see, but it's where does that come from? What's the real source of that? And if you say, well, it's physical, you run into roadblocks that you can't answer. If you say it's virtual, the roadblocks are removed. It's just that simple. It's a better physics.